So the suspense building was, I thought, very well done. And when the action happens, wow, it is very intense. It is very uh, well shot and choreographed without feeling phony. There are a few moments that are very Hollywoodish. Once again, the Bayisms. The most infamous moment there is probably when the camera follows a rocket being fired. Yeah, it's a cool shot, but it is a little bit bayish for this kind of film. Um, but nevertheless, I liked how it was very violent and gritty, but not sleazy. I felt like I was part of the action. I thought the camera work did a great job at making me just drawing me in. And yeah, it's kind of shaky, and yeah, the editing is a little tight and disorienting, but it did that sparingly to where I thought it enhanced the action. Um, it wasn't like, I even say with Transformers, sometimes it was just too much. I get a headache, and I stopped enjoying the action scenes because the camera was constantly so jittery. But here, I thought it used that aspect very well. If there's any issue I have with the action, and this does kind of tie into the pacing, it is a very fast paced movie, even though it's also a very long movie, or a pretty long movie. Um, there is a point where the action starts to feel redundant during like the later section of the movie. How many times do we have to have the scene where somebody points out that the Benghazi police force are fleeing the scene, and that's going to obviously lead to the bad guys attacking once more, and it's just this big siege where these soldiers are trying to defend this compound against all these rebels who are trying to get to them. They just reached a point where it started to get a little redundant, a little monotonous, not too much, but once again, it was there. Uh, so and I also liked how nothing about the action was glamorous. It's disturbing, and I think that's how war movies, particularly ones based off direct real events, that's what they should do. So I like that part. The Bayisms. Okay, so uh, you'll recognize a lot of the shots that he likes to utilize in his movies, and there's nothing wrong with them, but because he does them so often, it made certain parts of Benghazi a little difficult to take seriously. One of Bay's favorite visuals is he does these empowering shots, looking up at the characters while the camera's moving a little bit and it's in slow motion, but and they're kind of like straightening up or standing up. You saw a lot in like the Transformers movies, and you see that same shot here, and it's not like I think it's a bad shot or anything. It's just weird that you want to remind us of films like Bad Boys 2 and Transformers when you're doing a much more somber and serious piece. It's one thing for, like, for example, Spielberg in Jaws. He has that great scene where Quint is doing his monologue and the camera is slowly pushing in on him. Jurassic Park uses a very similar visual where John Hammond has his big speech and the camera is slowly pushing on him too. There's a difference between going from Jaws and Jurassic Park than Transformers to Benghazi. It's just a bit too much of a jump. Two very different genres, way too silly, and when you bring that visual back for your much more serious film, once again, it's kind of going to undermine the drama because now you're reminding me of your past works. This should not feel like a Michael Bay movie. And yeah, you could argue with all the explosions and stuff, it kind of does, but that would have been present even if Michael Bay was not the director. Also, his sense of humor, oh god, this is a tough one to talk about because I actually did laugh at this film's jokes. Whenever somebody would say or something amusing or react in an amusing way, I laughed or I at least chuckled. It does occasionally get very dangerously close to disrupting the tone. A lot of people, I think, really were turned off by this because even during the second half, when people are dying all around them, somebody would make some quirky one-liner, and it didn't ruin it for me, but at times I was like, "Ooh, you're cutting it close, Michael Bay. Uh, if you take this any farther, you might lose me." So once again, that's something that did bother a lot of people. It didn't bother me as much, even though I do want to say that yeah, it is kind of a flaw. During the second half, it should have cut out almost all of its humor. The one joke that annoyed me, the one Bayism that I just cannot forgive, no matter what the context, is his tendency to rely on racial stereotyping humor. There is a Middle Eastern guy who is pretty much the straight up comedic relief, whereas there's another character who's one of the soldiers who also is intended to be funny. At least he's also edgy. You take him seriously, but with this guy, he's like this real geeky dude who's just really awkward and goofy. And I don't want to say it was racist or anything, but it just seemed odd, and he felt very out of place to me. So we're not talking skids and mudflap. It's not that bad, but I still, Michael Bay's got to get away from this racial stuff. It's making him look bad, even though this is one of the more mild examples. So the film is too long. Like I said, the film does start to get redundant after a while. It is just a straight up action flick, so if you want any real substance, you're going to be disappointed. And I can't really say the character drama stood out as anything special, but it was still, I thought, pretty good. The action scenes did impress me. I enjoyed the performances. I enjoyed everybody's interactions. I thought the suspense was really good. I thought Michael Bay did a great job at building tension. So even though this is not a classic, it's not a great movie, unless you have any hangups on over the fact that you're watching a Benghazi film and you might think that it's tasteless and exploitive, yeah, I think it's worth watching. Maybe on DVD. I don't know if I'd go to the theaters to check it out. It just depends on how much of this project intrigues you. Just know that I thought it was a pretty solid flick. And that is really all I have to say. So I did not do a written review of this, but I have done written reviews for The Objective from one of the guys who did the Blair Witch Project, and Recycle from the Pang Brothers. So read those. Follow me on Facebook and Twitter. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I shall see you guys later.